Hello, fabulous superstar Scorpio. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of June 2018, looking at life and love. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. What an amazing month it is. We do have an active sky playing out right now, and it is a sky that is making great promises, certainly, but also grounding us as well. And I think you, of all people, will find the grounding energy very useful indeed. At the same time, your ancient ruling planet will officially go retro, marking an important turning point for you and introspection, valuable introspection at that. I'm so excited to tell you about it all. So let's start with in the first half of the month. As we're moving towards the middle of the month, we will have a new moon. Now, this new moon is taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with your home in the sky is what this is. And it represents an area of life that tends to be important for you, an area of life through which you learn some of your most important lessons in this lifetime. And it has to do with things like understanding wealth, understanding your relationship to money, but also to financial institutions. That's one way this energy plays out. But the other is having to do with profound transformation. Now, your sign represents and has mythological connections to a few different expressions. So we think about the scorpion, of course, but also the phoenix rising from the ashes. I don't know if you remember, if you ever came across the work of the late, great Jonathan Caner, but I remember when I was just really getting into learning astrology and I just started realizing that this is what I wanted to do. Well, his work was really inspirational to me. And he was the one who made this connection, the first person I read to make the connection between your energy, your sign, and the phoenix rising from the ashes. And so if you think about the phoenix, right, it's a symbol of great power, of great prestige, and also great fortune as well. And you see this phoenix emerging from what it is that is no longer useful, right? What it is that it is addressed, it is burned away, it is no longer a part of its existence, and it is rising from that place of what is no more, being reborn in some way. Well, you've got this powerful new moon taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with being reborn in some significant way. But here's the thing, this new moon is speaking with Neptune, and it is a conversation that astrologers call a square. And what that means is just when you think you know what your rebirth is, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it looks a little different than you expected. And the really special thing here is that ultimately what this says is to trust your journey and to trust your change as well. I do feel like a lot of people out there are going to feel like they've dipped into a Mercury retrograde for a quick moment, okay? And that may very well be you in particular. Just when you think you dealt with something, just when you think you healed something, just when you think you'd risen and you're flying and you're gone, you're being brought back to address a deeper layer, to address a deeper learning for you with stuff that you probably thought you dealt with. But here's the thing. I would encourage you, don't put too many expectations on yourself. Don't think that you have to do it perfectly, and don't think that you are in any way going back. You can't go back. You can't be who it was that you were. You can't go through the same lesson because you are not the same. You may be having a sense of similarity or having a sense that, I'm not so clear and I think that this is familiar. I think that there's something going on here on a level of spirit, on a level of energy. I thought I had done this work before, but it's never the same because you are never the same. And so even if you feel like the expectation is there that you should have gotten it before, or you feel like you're not really sure what the lesson is, flow with it. Don't worry about it and trust your journey towards that continuous rise, that strong you, that inspired you rising forward. Even if you don't feel so connected to that image, especially around this new moon, it is a part of who you are. It is symbolic of your life path. And this moment is part of that journey as well. So yes, maybe some uncertainty, maybe some confusion around this time as to whether or not you'd done the work or what was really going on, but it's okay. It's a moment and it passes. Now, of course, because this part of the sky has to do with financial institutions, well, it may also work out that you feel a little bit confused by some messages you're getting from a financial institution, and that's okay. You know, it's just a part of life, and you will address it. And there may be a little bit of moment like, what is this? Where did this come from? Did I sign that? And then you will make a phone call or something. Now, I would encourage you, if you can, try to avoid at least the days right around the new moon, just because there is that energy of confusion. And just when you think you've gotten an answer, maybe you haven't. And so just keep that in mind and pace yourself a little bit if you can. Like sometimes you really can't, but if you can, try and give yourself a little bit of space, try to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. You'll be that much more glad for it, because at least then you know that some of the answers that you're getting are a little bit more grounded and probably a little bit more accurate as well, especially around this particular new moon. Now, I would also say with this energy, the thing is that sometimes people or situations, people are telling us something or giving us information, and they really believe it. This is the information that they have, and they're passing it on to you, and they're sincere about it. But it still may not necessarily be accurate. And of course, sometimes is the case that we are getting information and it is not accurate. And that is intentional to not be transparent with you. And that does happen sometimes. And as I look at this, especially where it comes to financial matters, just be a little bit mindful about the level of transparency that you are feeling. If it feels like there are certain numbers that are not adding up, if it feels like there's not accurate information on a particular application or on your credit report or whatever the case may be, just know that you will address it, okay? It'll sort itself out, of course, and you will do what you need to do. But again, that may come about right around this new moon, and just give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Wait at least a couple of days after the new moon in order to really feel like you know your action plan going forward, and all will be sorted out and all will be well. This is also a very powerful time. As I said, this has to do with your emotional relationship for money. So for some of you out there, this may be a time when you may be thinking to yourself that you should be further ahead than you are, maybe putting certain expectations on yourself, or having to look at where it is that you are not feeling like that relationship is a very empowered one, okay? Or healing something very deep around your deservedness to have prosperity. And this can show up at this time as well. But the great thing is that if it's showing up, it means that there's ready, and you're ready for a deeper layer of healing to take place, and to redefine prosperity in your own terms, and to recognize where it is in your life that you already are very rich indeed. Now, as we move towards the later part of the month, that is when we are going to have a full moon. This is a powerful full moon, mainly because it is happening hand in hand with Saturn. Now, Saturn, as I spoke about in the Saturn special, and you can watch that on YouTube, the overview and the previews for your sign. Well, I spoke about how Saturn is in its home sign right now, and he likes being here. Like, this is where he's more comfortable. He's able to bring forward some of his more higher qualities at that. Well, as I look at this full moon, ultimately what I'm seeing here is earned rewards. Okay, so this can be a time of completion, of culmination as well, and it can come with a sense of having earned something, but it is well deserved. So keep that in mind. Ultimately, Saturn wants you to put in the time before the rewards come, but this can certainly be a high point in that, but also a reality check in where you are in that. So this is a part of the sky that has to do with a few different things. So one is contracts, okay? So if there is any kind of contract that you're offered now that you're considering signing or anything like that, well, of course, always read the fine print, but understand that whatever the terms are, there may actually be something rather fair about it. So it doesn't look like necessarily anyone is gaining an advantage over anybody else. It looks like a very measured deal. And of course, it's always up to you to decide what's right for you in terms of sealing that agreement in light of your unique circumstances. For others of you, this may work out in terms of having a difficult conversation. Now, it looks like the time has come, and it looks like a lot of truths are being revealed over the course of this conversation, but ultimately it is grounding. It feels as if you are finally getting out what you need to get out, but you're saying it in a way that's respectful, but you're also understanding more deeply what it is that you need to understand. And so there's a sense of stability that comes about through a key conversation that happens at this time. Now, that conversation could be with a partner, it could be with a boss as well, so keep that in mind. But ultimately, the overall feeling with this is that you are feeling more stable and more strong and more secure. The other way this energy can play out has to do with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, and this could be a time when you hear some news on these fronts. Saturn is not about surprise, okay? So there's not going to be any surprises here. It could be that one of these people is making a decision or having some occurrences in their life that ultimately are about moving them towards greater stability or moving them towards greater adulthood at that. And you know, the thing is that actually adulthood is pretty cool. There's a lot of reasons why being a grown-up is actually pretty awesome. And so you may get to see that demonstrated in one of these people that I mentioned. Now, finally, we have to talk about Mars, because Mars is your ancient ruling planet. And whatever happens with Mars, well, it seems to speak a lot more personally to you and more to the heart of you at that. Well, Mars will go retrograde this month, right around the 26th of June, give or take a day on either side, depending on where you are on the planet. And this is like literally just a couple of days before the full moon takes place that I just talked about. And it is going to be right around these days, the last week of the month, that you do want to pay attention to what is transpiring, because I feel like this is going to be a time when you get very fascinated, or you get very focused, or you realize where it is that you want to give your focus. But ultimately, the final conclusions are not going to come until we get to the month of October. Now, of course, I'll be here to talk about it as we go along. And of course, I spoke about this at length in the Mars retrograde special that you can access in the Superstar space or on my website. But having said that, if we focus on this month, this Mars retrograde is happening at the foundation of your chart, at the base of your sky, which means that in some way, what you understand as where you have been and where it is that you are from is going to go through a shift. Now, for some people, love may be a part of this as well, because Mars has to do with attraction and desire. And this can be a time when you find yourself very drawn to or attracted to someone from the past or a particular situation from the past as well. And so for those of you who are open to meeting someone new, it looks more like a time of whether it's inner reflection or whether it's actively seeking out somebody from the past, or if you're not seeking them out, you're coming across information. Again, you want to watch what's happening, particularly in that last week of the month, because that's when most of the activity is happening. Now, whatever it is that comes up for you and whoever it is that shows up for you, just know that the fuller answers and the fuller conclusions are going to find you a little further down the road. Chances are, whatever shows up at this time, it's like you're having to go back over it a few times before you fully understand once we get you into October. And again, I'll be here to talk about it as we go along. For those of you who are in an established bond, I actually think that it is the new moon in the early to middle part of the month that is going to be more of a focus. Now, this new moon is, as I said, it's happening in a part of the sky that has to do with a few different things, but one of those things is emotional bonding and emotional intimacy and real sharing on a very profound level. And that is emotional, yes, but it's also financial as well. So here's where you want to be mindful, because remember I said a lot of things are not very clear at this time. And so, you may not realize it or you may suspect it, but it could be possible now that your partner, if you're in an established bond, is making some financial decisions or financial spending, and they're not really feeling like they can tell you about it, or they're not being completely upfront about it. And that is part of their journey, right? Now, ultimately, where and how you feel about that and how comfortable you feel about that is going to be about your individual relationship dynamic. But just be aware that, sometimes people need to spend money on things that don't make a lot of sense to you. And maybe your partner doesn't feel very comfortable sharing with you that, well, actually, yes, I like whatever it is. Chocolate covered almonds. I don't know, right? I like this particular thing and I know you don't understand it, but this is what I want to spend my money on. That could be part of it. And it could be that simple and that clear. but it could be a little bit more complex and it could be a little bit more private as well. Of course, again, always up to you to decide what's right for you in light of your unique circumstances, but it seems like they're going on a journey, financially speaking and spending speaking as well. Now, the other part of this is, of course, there may be financial changes with your partner as well. And so that speaks to how much sharing of resources and sharing financially there is going on. Whether it is that your partner is, chasing a dream and having a lot of hope about something they're wanting to do, or whether it is other changes that are transpiring, just know ultimately with Neptune, there is a temporary quality to it. Certainly not the time for your partner. Like if you want, you can show them this video, because not the time for them to be making big financial changes. Like certainly not the time for your partner to be thinking about like starting their own business or in a huge niche thing or anything like that. There are much more stable energies to do things like that, but just especially around the new moon and especially around the middle of the month, that may not be the right time, but the more ideal time will come in due course. What I love about this month for you is that, ultimately, this is a month that is leading you home, and that home is within yourself, certainly, but also in your world as well. And you're about to find that home is a place really with a lot of passion. There's a lot of passions at home, that's for sure, but that can also be a lot of fun, personally rewarding, but also exciting as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful for it. You can get a video like this every week by logging on to astrofabulous.com or nadiyashah.com. Sign up to be one of my superstars. Superstars get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to the special horoscopes, and so much more in the superstar space. And of course, special horoscopes are on my website live right now at nadiyashah.com. I look forward to meeting you there. It'll be a great month. Enjoy.